Thank you for tuning in to this week's WorthWhile Spotlight. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Visit Columbia. Check out their website at visitcolumbiatn.com to learn about all things Columbia. Their website features local artists, local businesses, and local events, so check them out and visit Columbia. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for this week's WorthWhile Spotlight. Today we have an amazing guest, Wrenn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Shout out, I'm excited. We're going to talk about some spiritual things, a lot of things. We'll let you kind of talk about it. So Frequency Collective is her business. It's a sound healing meditation studio. What's the address? If anyone wants to stop
707 North
and time
Garden.
frames and everything. So
yeah, 707 North Garden. We are open to the public on Fridays from 10 to 4 and Saturdays from 10 to 2. And then we do sessions on Sundays.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
So give me a little description, or give everyone a little description of what you do.
I do a lot of things, but mainly from the studio perspective, we offer sound healing meditations, group sessions, private sessions, spiritual workshops, and we also have vibroacoustic therapy, which is something really new and interesting that I've just recently gotten into. Then we also have a retail boutique where we sell anything from candles and jewelry to crystals and incense. So all the things that I love, like
all the things you need.
Yeah, exactly.
So what got you into the whole realm? Because when we talked the first time, you said you owned Faded Farmhouse?
I did,
okay.
Yeah.
So like, how did you go from Faded Farmhouse to Frequency Collective?
Well, I've always been kind of this person that I need like a challenge or a goal, or like to be passionate about whatever I'm doing. So I started the Faded Farmhouse in my dad's garage in 2012, painting furniture. I saw a video on YouTube and I was like, oh, I can do that. So I got furniture from the Goodwill, painted it, put it in an antique store and just rented a space, sold it really quickly. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should have a store. I had no business owning a business. Like before that, I was in banking. So my life has been very much like go with your gut. But I was like, if one person can do it, I can figure it out. Whatever. So I decided to lease a building that was in Arrington, population like 500. Anybody with like business sense probably would not have gone that route.
What are you doing?
Yeah, like, do you want to make money? Like, what are you doing? This town is literally Mayberry. But it worked out, and then I ended up selling that or franchising that location, opening a location here, franchising another location in Mooresville, North Carolina, have a website. Like I had at one point like 25 employees. Everything that I wanted to create out of it, I got there. I was like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And then I'm like, what else could I do with this? And then I got to this point where I was it was like day to day. It was not exciting. I was not passionate about it. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And from the outside looking in, I think people were like, why would you not want to do this anymore? Like, this is crazy. But people always asked me, like, was that my dream?
Yeah.
Like, owning a home decor store or a retail brand, like, was that your dream? And I'm like, no, it was never my dream. Like, I never said when I was little, like, I want to have my own business.
Yeah.
It just happened out of being open to what am I supposed to do next?
Yeah.
So in 2020, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what I want to do, but I know it's not this. And I just kind of put it out there that I was going to sell the brand. And I had several people reach out, and I had 2 people offer me more than I was asking, and I didn't take it because I wanted to be very intentional about who took it over, because it was, kind of my baby. It was something I started from zero, and it grew crazy huge. So I knew the girl that bought it. We're the same age. We had the same friend circle growing up. So she took it over, and then I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. So at that point, I was going through a divorce, sold the business. I was just kind of a mess. I didn't really know like what was going to be the next right step for me. So I literally took a year and a half off and I was like, I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And I ended up in that time working with the energy healer and a life coach. decided I wanted to be certified as a life coach. So I started with that. And I was just going to do coaching and kind of energy work. And then for Christmas, maybe 2 years ago, my dad got me a set of the sound bowls. And I was like, these are really cool. Like, I don't know. I just thought they were pretty, and I'm super into crystals. So I was like, yeah, I want that. And they were expensive. So I was like, I'm going to ask for it for Christmas. So I got those. And as soon as I took them out of the box, I knew how to play them. Which, it's not hard to play a sound bowl, but it's hard to know what notes go together. And at that point, I had no idea what the effect would even be on me or anyone else that I played them around. I just thought they were cool and pretty, and why not? So that kind of started this ball rolling of maybe this could be my business.
Yeah.
And then it
became your
turned
business.
into it, yeah.
So
very easily.
With the playing, when you first started playing, do you think you felt it or you heard it was right? You said the notes sounded right? You felt it, or you were like, that sounds right?
I'm very big on intuition and going with my gut. So I'm like, oh, let me try these two together. And then I'm like, yeah. And then after that, I kind of started to just research and Google a little bit. And they're like, oh, you should play, this note and this note together and it'll make a perfect C. And I'm like, oh, I already did that. Like, I already knew.
You just had an explanation after that.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, so what I'm doing is right. So, yeah.
So when you were going through, like, all the things happening and selling the business and stuff, like, did you have any prior knowledge of energy work or life coaching or anything like that? Or, like, what drew you to that?
No. I think that I've always been intrigued by what you can't see. And I know that there is something bigger than me that's controlling all of this. I don't believe in coincidence or that things just happen. So I was at this place in my life where I knew that something had shifted and I knew that I wasn't me anymore, but I didn't know why. So I had gained like 70 pounds. I was miserable. Like, I would wake up in the morning and not want to get out of bed. And that was not the me that I knew prior. And then I sold the business, and then it's like, I don't have anything to do. Like, if I want to lay in bed all day, I can.
Because you were getting up to go do this.
Exactly, yeah.
Tend to the business.
Yeah, and it's like all this pressure was gone off of me, but at the same time, like, I had no drive, like no desire to work for anything. And I just was in this super, super dark place. And I was like, I don't want to be married anymore. I don't want to have this business anymore. I don't want to live in this house anymore. I don't want to do anything that I'm doing anymore because it does not feel right. So I just kind of went into this super, super dark place that I hope I never go to again. But I feel like when you're in the dark is when you find the light. So
that's what, while you were saying that, it crossed my mind, because I feel like the dark or like bad places have a bad rap because they are bad and dark places. But I feel like that those are the moments that you find out who you are, or you discover certain things that you didn't understand before. So it's almost like a bad necessity.
Absolutely.
In a way.
Yeah.
But even like you said, you don't ever want to go back to that place. But if you start feeling yourself go towards that, you're going to be able to catch it, and you're more aware of it, and you're like, oh, this is what I did to get out of that last time.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
wild. It's wild, but it's a necessity.
Oh, yeah. And in that place, I just remember feeling so alone, and just, my husband at the time had moved out. My son was 17 or 18, so he was never home. I was literally in this huge house that was my dream house. It was huge. It was on land. I had my dream car. I was married. I had my own business, and I was fucking miserable. And I just, from the outside looking in, like, you would think, I checked all these boxes, you should be happy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
External fulfillment was
exactly.
there, but not the internal.
Yeah. And I would lay in the bathtub at night and just think about, literally, I was like, I could just lay right here and slip my wrist and I would just bleed out and it would all be over.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very common feeling of just, you're so tired of trying to figure out what's wrong that you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I made an appointment with an energy healer. I made an appointment with my doctor. I made an appointment with all these people to be somebody else to tell me what is wrong with me. And I went to the doctor and like immediately got diagnosed that I was bipolar, that I was depressed, that I had anxiety, and that I had ADHD. And I just remember like leaving that appointment, and he handed me this huge stack of prescriptions and was like, here, take these and I'll see you in 30 days. And I was like, no, like, but why? Like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I going through this? Because this is not who I am.
Which is, it's wild too though, because like you go to this like doctor to find that help, but it's like you already know you're in a bad area.
Yeah.
Like that's why you're coming to seek help, and then they're pretty much just labeling, okay, well this is the bad things that are happening to you here.
Yeah, exactly.
And not except the why. So
Yeah.
what happened after that?
So I left that day, and I felt more lost than when I had gone to that appointment. And I was just like, nobody could tell me why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I was just like, there's got to be another answer. So then I went to an energy healer, and he's an intuitive. And I had my first session with him, and he was like, I can tell you why you've gained 70 pounds. You're scared. He's like, you're trying to protect yourself. And weight is a form of protection. And the more that I worked with him, the more he shined lights on emotions that I was feeling that was causing these external things to happen in my life, or these, just different ailments. Like I would want to sleep all day, or, I would be nauseous all the time, or just whatever was going on. He could pinpoint an emotion to that. And to me, that was so interesting that you can heal your body without prescriptions if you are willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And so then I started working with the sound bowls, and because he told me, he was like, you realize you can use those bowls to lose weight. And I was like, really? Like I could eat whatever I wanted and just listen to this sound and it would make me lose weight? And he was like, yeah, and I lost 65 pounds doing that. Literally. I did a sound.
You were doing like solo sessions at the
just
house
by
and
myself.
stuff like that?
Yeah, I did a sound healing every day for at least 30 minutes in the morning when I would wake up. Then I started meditating. It was kind of this 2-year-long process of trying to find things that worked for me that were not normal, but that I felt were so aligned with what I needed. And then I started working with a life coach, and I was in a group coaching program, and just this sense of community, I was craving that, but I had no idea that that's what I was craving.
So when you got exposed to it, you were like, I love this.
I was like, this is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
So I got certified, and then after that, I was like, you know what? I want to make a place for people who were like me, who are in the same situation that I was in, and I want to make this safe space for them to come learn how they can deal with their shit and then get on the other side of it and feel better and help other people. So that is when Soul Haven was born. So Soul Haven was my coaching business, and when I started doing sound healing. And in the beginning, I would just do coaching on Zoom, and I would do sound healings at my friend's Airbnb. And we started, the very first one was in December of 2021. And I was like, let's just try this. Let's have like 10 people come for free, see if they're open to it. It was kind of like my test market.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's just, see how they react to it. And if I can get feedback, that'll be great. So the people came. They had a really great experience, and I didn't have anything else planned. But then like a week later, like 7 of them reached out and they're like, when are you going to do that thing again? And I was like, oh.
There's a need.
Yeah. I was like, okay, let me see. So I put some stuff together. I didn't even have a website. I didn't have a booking system. I didn't have anything. I was just like, well, just text me if you want to come, and you can Venmo me, whatever. And then it quickly grew to where I was doing Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday sessions, 3 nights a week, 12 people per session, and they were booked like weeks in advance.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, this is working out. Like, obviously people are getting something from it. So fast forward, my friend ended up selling her house, so I needed a place to have sessions. And I found the space downtown. I wasn't looking for a space at all. I didn't want a space.
Not a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly, because I had come from, leasing a building and having a business and all the shit that comes with that. That's not the fun stuff. I had done that for 8 years. And I was like, I don't want to have another business. I liked doing sound healings because it didn't feel like work at all. So, but then I'm like, I had so many people messaging me, like, when are you going to do another session? I was like, okay, I have to have a space. So I found the space that I'm in now. Not a coincidence that the owner of the building is the same owner of the Faded Farmhouse building who I had worked with for 6.5 years. So as soon as I reached out to him, he was like, if you want the space, it's yours. I was like, oh, well, that was easy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but the funny thing he asked me whenever we toured the space, he said, what are you going to do here? Like, he had told me I could have it before he even knew. But I was like, well, I'm going to have a meditation studio. And I'll never forget the look on his face. He looked at me and he said, people are going to pay for that? And I was like, yeah, they are.
He's probably like, this is complete opposite than the farmhouse.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, too, I feel like the Faded Farmhouse was so aligned with me in that time period of my life, but this is so aligned with me in this version.
You think there's a connection, though? Because, like, Faded Farmhouse, you were renewing and making furniture new. It's essentially what you're doing with people.
Exactly.
But it's not material things. It's internal.
Exactly, yeah.
It's perspective on it.
Yes.
So how was your first coaching session? Like, not towards you, but you giving one? You said it was over Zoom. I mean, did it come naturally, or were you kind of just like, okay, this is
very
kind of
naturally.
Feeling? Yeah.
Well, so I'm a Capricorn anyway. Capricorns are very much like, I'll tell you everything that you're doing wrong. I'm really good at that. But I will never forget my first coaching session. It was this like aha moment for me, because when I got certified and then I did like a business coaching program, that was great. I'm good at business. I know how to start a business. I know how to market a business. I know how to run a business. And I think all that was essential for me to be successful now. But I didn't necessarily want to coach people just on business, because if you don't do the inner work, your business might look successful on paper, it might look successful to other people, but you're going to be in the same situation that I was in, to where you're not fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like, I was making a lot of money and I had everything I thought I wanted, but I was miserable. So I was like, I really want to do just like one-on-one coaching, personal coaching, life coaching, relationship coaching. So my very first one-on-one client, I did not know this woman from anyone. She was referred to me. And our first session, I will never forget. She was so nervous, so shy. Like, she had never worked with a coach before. She didn't know what to expect. She just knew that she wasn't happy with where she was at. So in our first session, I always make people take a picture of themselves on the very first day, and then we take a picture on the last day. But just so she could see kind of the energy she was in, kind of where she was at mentally, and just the state she was in. So the first session, we just kind of go over like where you're at, why you think you're not happy, what would make you happy. I'm like, what do you think would make you happy? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I can't remember the last time I was happy. I don't remember what happy even feels like. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, there's people that live like that? Like, okay. Like, even when I was in the dark place, I could still remember times that I had been happy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I give everybody homework. So during her homework, the first time is to just change kind of your morning routine and what you do during the day. So our next call, we get on the call and I'm like, tell me about your week. Tell me, I could already see a shift just from 1 hour of working together. So on our second call, she's telling me all these things, and I just looked at her and I was like, I'm so proud of you. And she burst into tears. And I'm like, why are you crying? And she composed herself and she said, no one's ever told me they were proud of me before. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, my dad tells me he's proud of me every day, whether I do anything or not. But it hit me that some people don't hear positive things. Some people don't hear nice words. Some people don't have anybody to tell them that they're glad. That they're glad they exist, that they love them, that they're proud of them. And so that hit me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. And after that day, all I wanted to do was tell as many people as possible that I was proud of them. And I was like, if that is what I'm here to do, like, sign me up. I'm in. Because there's no amount of money that will ever mean more to me than that feeling that I gave her. And it completely changed the trajectory of her entire life. Because the person she is today
Completely different.
is a completely different person than when we started working together. And we only did 6 sessions together. Like, it's not this long drawn out process. Like, I want things fast. Like, most things in my life I wanted yesterday. So I didn't want to create this coaching energy atmosphere container where people were going to need me for extended amounts of time. I was like,
You want to set them up to go.
Exactly. It's like, what can we do in 6 weeks for some rapid transformation to make you see your patterns and kind of wake up a little bit? That's not to say that a lot of my clients don't stay with me longer, but I think it's because the change happens so quickly. They're like, well, if I do another month or another 3 months, like, where am I going to be then? So that was really, it lit a fire under me, because I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to create this space where people can come, women or men. And in the beginning, a lot of my clients were men, which was kind of shocking to me. But I just wanted to have this kind of safe space where people could just come and be themselves and be with other people who might look like on the outside they have their shit together, but nobody does.
Yeah. At the end of the day, everyone's just trying to put their shit together.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure that was an experience. How was the first sound meditation class you've done?
So the first one,
it was semi. I was like, I don't know, enthralling.
Well, how did it feel when you came?
So, like, let me ask this first. How many people come that have no meditation experience?
I typically have maybe 2 or 3 every session that have never.
So, like, my mindset going is, like, I meditated for years now, not like a specific every single day.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm aware of, like, the whole realm of things. So, like, I was going to it with, like, a purpose of finding relaxation and, like, center. So I enjoyed it. I mean, I felt some things I've never felt before, especially with the bowl. I mean, just like you feel it in you.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
You know, you can listen to music in a car. It's the same, you know, quotations concept because you're feeling that the music hits you. But like with that being intentional, eyes closed, like focusing on your breathing, like you feel each part of your body, and then that just, I don't know, it was wild. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But what did you ask me? You just how my experience was in general, or just the first time? Yeah, I mean, I loved it. And then the vibro chair, like,
yeah,
it's just different. It just gives you relaxation and calmness. It's like time and space away from all the other chaotic things that are going on in the world. And you're just you're centered, good energy there. You can't not feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think people who have never been to a session, they have no idea what to expect. Some people have a really hard time getting out of their head while they're there. But typically if they come back a second time, it's a completely different experience. The way that sound and energy works, just for anybody who has no idea, you have what is called a chakra system in your body. It's just these basically spinning parts of energy that run up and down your spine. Bowls, the sound bowls, music in general, different instruments have a specific frequency and a specific hertz that will cause the water inside of your body to actually vibrate. So anything that you go through in life, if you have an argument with your girlfriend, or if you have a really shitty day, or if you're just, you know, you can walk into a room and you can feel if people have been arguing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you're like exposed to that type of energy, things will start to stick on you. And you'll absorb those emotions, whether they're yours or not. And then a lot of times people will be like, hey, how are you today? And just instantly they'll say, I'm fine, because we're programmed to be fine. Yeah. We are taught that people don't really want to know how we really are. Like, nobody cares about your shit. So it's like,
and you can tell too when you ask someone, I'm fine, but you're like, are you really?
Yeah.
Are you good? And you have to almost pry that open.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're taught in society just to, you don't show weakness, you don't show your emotions.
Wave.
Yeah, smile through it. And that's exactly part of the problem. So what happens is every time somebody's like, hey, how are you? And you're like, I'm good, but you're not. You're shoving those emotions down into your body. So what happens is your energy centers will start to get blocked. It can range from indigestion to insomnia, to anxiety, to depression, to literally broken bones, cancer, ulcers. Anything that is wrong with you starts from an emotional standpoint. So what sound can do is make the water inside your body vibrate, which then will make the energy centers vibrate, which will break up the energy and essentially heal your body from the inside out. I'm not saying it's just that, but it's a component that you can add that to other things to literally heal yourself.
Yeah.
And feel what you need to feel.
And there's something I've listened to not too long ago. I don't remember what it was, but energy is emotion, like energy in motion and emotion. So
yeah,
it ties that together right there.
Absolutely.
When did you go ahead? When did you? Because you said in the beginning, like you've always been a fan of things you can't see.
Yeah.
When did you start paying attention to what sparked that?
I just remember being really young and thinking like, there's something more to all this than what there is, or than just like what's in front of us or like what we're taught. I think I've always been really intuitive. I didn't so much tune into it until I got older. And a lot of experiences have happened the more that I become clear, like the more that my mind is clear, the more
you
that
lean into yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I started when I started trying to meditate, the key word being trying, I felt like I couldn't do it right. And I remember just because when I was working with my life coach, she's like, you have to meditate every day. Like you have to figure out what's going on the inside. And I would sit, because I think most people have this concept of meditation is this little man sitting like this on a mountaintop, like literally
silence,
just
no
silent.
thoughts.
Yeah, just with his eyes closed, just like so peaceful. That's not how you meditate in the real world. No. The goal is to get to that stage, obviously. But for me, I remember just trying to sit there, and you're trying not to think, so you think about everything. And I was like, how am I so bad at this? How am I so bad at being still? And how am I so bad at like turning my brain off? And then I started to realize like there's other ways that you can meditate. You can meditate with sound, you can meditate with mantras, you can do guided meditation. And so I started trying each one of those, and the only thing that really resonated with me was sound. Because I think I was a little more in tune with that. But the goal was to just sit for 5 minutes and just see what comes through. Just notice my thoughts instead of try to control my thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the most common misconception is people think when you're meditating, you're trying not to think about anything.
Which is a thought itself.
Exactly. But the goal is to just notice what you're thinking about. Like notice what your mind or your subconscious is trying to show you. So when I leaned into that and started working on my own shit, like clearing my own energy, like being mindful of what I was around and what I was consuming and who I was, associating with, I started to become a really clear channel. So I could walk into a room and I could tell you what the energy was. I could tell you, what had happened before or what was going to happen. And that was kind of a really weird place for me to be in because I'd never really thought of myself as intuitive, like as a channel, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah.
But one day that I was doing a sound healing session, I started to actually see things and hear things, and I knew the voice wasn't mine, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that, I was like, wait, what?
Was that mid-session?
Mid-session, yeah.
You were probably like, whoa.
Well, I'll tell you the story. I hope he doesn't mind if I share, but we just won't say his name. But anyway, so it was a man that I had never met before, and he's a bodybuilder. And, he came with a girl that I had also never met before. And it's just kind of one of those things that's very synchronistic, how people just show up in your energy field without any kind of intentional marketing. Like these people literally just came, and they came from Murfreesboro.
Really?
Yeah, and they didn't know me from anybody. They didn't know anyone that I knew. They literally
Really?
just came to a session. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting, which had happened all the time, so it wasn't weird to me. So anyway, they come in, and before every session, I just give a little bit of a rundown of like what I'm gonna do, how it works, why it works, and then we just kind of go with whatever happens. And I do sound healing a little bit different from most other people. I will actually play the bowls over your body so you can feel the vibrations a little bit more. So I'm walking around, I'm playing the bowls over this man's body, and I remember like bending down so I could get really close, and I heard this voice like in this ear, and he said, "That's my brother." And I was like, "What?" And I'm like looking, I don't see anything, but I hear him, and he's like, "That's my brother." And I'm like, okay, he's busy. Like I'm saying it in my head, but he's like, that I need to tell him something. And I'm like, okay, this is insane. Because it had never happened before. So I finished the session, and after each session, I'll go around and talk to each person and just see how they feel, if they experienced anything, if they have any questions. So I get to him, and he's on the end, and then the girl he was with is right beside him, and I'm like, this is gonna sound really crazy. I was like, but did you have a brother that passed away? And he looked at me and he said, what? And I was like, do you have a brother that passed away, like anytime recently? And he said, my best friend passed away and he was like my brother. Why? And I was like, oh, okay. And so then I'm just sitting there because I'm like, I don't know, what am I supposed to say? And I heard him say, tell him that he has an issue with women. And I'm like, he's with a girl. Like, I'm not gonna say that. And he's like, he has an issue with women. He has an issue with choosing or committing. And so I'm like, okay, he's saying that you have an issue with women, like choosing or committing to one. He said, it's like you have all these options, but you won't pick one because you feel like if you do, a better choice will come along and you can't take that choice. And he looked at me, because like, I don't know this man.
Yeah.
And I'm a complete stranger. And he looked at me and he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, he's saying that you need to make a choice. And he said, you'll know, like, the choice you make is always going to be the right choice. And he looked at me, almost like he didn't believe me. So then I heard the voice say, he has something of mine. And so I was like, he's saying that you wear something of his, like, every day. I said, but I don't feel like it's a necklace or a sweatshirt. I don't feel like it's anything physical. And he looked at me and he was like, he did tattoos, and he did all my tattoos. Well, it was wintertime. He had on long sleeves and pants. I couldn't even see that he had one tattoo. And he raised his arm up, and he had like a full sleeve. And then I said, no, he's saying he didn't do all of them. And he looked at me and he was like, what? And I was like, he's saying that there's one. I said, I feel like it's an animal, something with like a lot of hair. I said, but it's not like a dog or a wolf. And he looked at me and he was like, it's a lion. And I was like, oh. And then he said, I said, would it be like him to say, if he would have done that, it would have looked better? And he just like burst out laughing, and he was like, oh my God, that's exactly what he would have said. So it was like this validation that it wasn't me just telling him stuff. And so and so I looked at the girl that he was with, and I was like, I'm so sorry if y'all are together. And she just dies laughing, and she's like, no, we work together. And I was like, thank God, because that was so awkward. And he looks at her and he's like, I thought we were just coming to meditate. And she was like, I mean, I don't. And I'm like, this has never happened before. Like, I don't know, but I could not say anything. So that was the first kind of like really different experience that happened, that I was like, oh, this is new? Is this my thing now? I don't know. But yeah, so the more that I do sessions, the more I just kind of become very intuitive as to what people need. So it's not necessarily always that I'm channeling a dead person. That does not happen often. It's more just that I can sense what state your energy's in. And I can tell you, like, if you're holding on to something you need to let go of, or if, you know, you're worried about this, or you're anxious about that, or you need to eat more foods that are green. Like, I just kind of intuitively know how to make you be more aligned.
That's wild.
I know, right?
It's a wild story. Does that happen more?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Does it happen more and more, you think? Or is it kind of selective on the person?
Well, it happens when it needs to happen.
Fair.
Like,
yeah.
I do not try to turn anything on or off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
you're present, and then it either channels through you or it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm just open to, and it also helps if the person's energy is open to it or not. So I feel like on some level his energy was open to receiving a message, but there's some people that come in that they're locked down.
Walls up.
I can't read anything on them, and that's fine. But there's other people that are just like wide open and they don't need to be. So it's balanced. But yeah. That
started like for me, the whole looking at things that don't exist or you can't see was through Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Like I broke my arm and it's like 2018, and like I was at home by myself all the time, and I started researching just different. It was conspiracy videos is what I started looking into, and there was stuff about like pyramids, like Middle East and stuff like that, and it was piecing some stuff together, and I was like, all right. And then I stumbled across Nikola Tesla, and like he made a Tesla tower that represents the pyramids and how there's natural energy from the earth, and like that's the whole thing. It's a whole other conversation. But like one of his quotes is like, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of sound, vibration, and frequency.
Exactly.
And like I didn't understand it then, but I knew that there was like depth to it because I started looking into like who he was, and like everyone knows Tesla as the car.
Yeah.
And like I feel like 70% of the people I ask, I'm like, you know Tesla? And they're like, yeah, the car? And I'm like, no, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
And they had no idea about him. So like that intrigued me because I'm like, all right, there's something here that they're not telling or we're not told about. And that's what opened that whole world up for me, which led to meditating and then like so on and so on. But like now, it's been maybe 4 years of that specific journey, and to stumble into you and like what you do, and it's like it's not coincidental, but like it just never stops. I feel like there's just enough more and more knowledge that keeps being revealed to the one who seeks it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's wild. That's wild. So what made you choose Columbia?
Well, I'm from here.
You're from. So I thought you were from California from
No.
our brief conversation. Just because you said, well, maybe it's because the chair is from Sedona, the vibro chair, and that's where
she found it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I just conceived in my head that you're from California, but so born and raised here. Mm-hmm. So you just wanted to keep it here because obviously your roots are here.
Oh yeah, and like, I mean, I feel like you're in the space you're meant to be in at the right time.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
I also feel like Nashville is going to be a spiritual hub for something. I don't really know what.
I feel like Columbia is.
But yeah, there's so many spiritual people are drawn to Nashville. Like, and William Henry, do you know who he is? Okay, you should definitely check him out. But he has a show on, I think it's on Gaia, but it's called Ancient Aliens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's so interesting, but he lives in Nashville, and he does these tours where he takes people to, my mind just went totally blank, the Parthenon, and I think it's called Bicentennial Park.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of energy at both of those places, so he just kind of explains what he thinks happens there, and it's just, there's a lot of influential spiritual people that are kind of flocking to Nashville, and I don't think that's...
What do you think big picture wise, why that is?
I don't know. I just know that there's obviously power in numbers, and I feel like, the more people who see things on the same wavelength and frequency can create a bigger impact and change. So I feel like that's coming.
That's wild. I mean, not to tie this back to like our session last night, but like that's why I struggle with like, I'm debating on going on the road with the podcast. And like I've made the decision I'm going to, but like internally I debate if I'm making the right choice. But I've noticed that for years that there's it's coming here, and like I used to say it as in like people, money, and like whatever, like the businesses and whatever. But like on a spiritual level, now that I've like dove into that spiritual side of myself, like that's coming.
Yeah.
And everyone I meet, like it's just like another person. Like, well, okay, and there's people I've known for years that we've never talked about the spiritual side of things, or like how in tune they are with themselves, and it's happening now. Just through conversation, and it's like am I running from that? Am I missing out by, if I go travel and do the podcast and it's coming here, am I leaving that opportunity?
No. You're not moving.
That's true.
You're just traveling.
Traveling, yeah.
It's
That's
all
true.
for a purpose.
That's true.
But I also think it's very coincidental that we are in the quote unquote Bible Belt. And there's going to be this like spiritual awakening happening here. So
I think it's funny that Columbia, like I said in the beginning, is dimple of the universe.
Yeah.
And I think that it's I don't know, there's something about Columbia. The president used to live here. Like it used to be, my landlord, they have an old map in their house of like the structure of the state and like the road systems and stuff. I don't remember what year it was, so I don't want to butcher it, but I think it was like early 1800s or somewhere around there, maybe like mid 1800s. But like Columbia was way bigger than Nashville. Like it was intended to be the capital of the state, and then some plants and stuff shut down, and people ended up going north for, I think, the waterway up there. The river was much bigger than Duck River here. I don't remember specifically, but just that fact, I'm like, man, like Columbia's special. Like something about it, and here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we are. So what do you see going forward? Like what do you want to just keep doing what you're doing? You want to expand it? Would you ever franchise that? Is that something you can even
You're
imagine?
the third person this week that's asked me that or told me to think about that, and I'm like, I have no idea how that even looks, but
I feel like if from just outside looking in, it would be more so like you like bringing someone on and like teaching them how to like.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, it's very different. I'm open to anything really, which is one reason that I did rebrand everything. We don't even have a sign up yet. It's been a process launching this business, and I feel like it's been a very big learning experience for me because I didn't want to be open to the public. I really wanted it to just be a meditation studio and just kind of be this place that was kind of
secluded,
and a little bit kind of what goes on in there, and just a little bit different. But obviously the universe had a much different plan than I did, because I moved in January, had everything set up, was launching sessions, and the entire space flooded in February. So I'm just like, okay, something's not right. We need to redo something. So I was like, maybe it's just the way it's set up. So I redid some things, and then more shit happened. So it's just like, had it worked out in the beginning, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, like, because now I am open to the public. And I think it had to be open to the public so that people could see that we're not like sacrificing children and playing with snakes on the inside. That it's just literally just a very peaceful environment, and that the stuff that we're doing is not wrong or against anyone's religion. Like, you can go as deep into it as you want. But it's just, I changed the name literally just a couple of weeks ago because I realized that, like, in the beginning we were talking about, you just want it to, your brand, if it's going to be just you or if that's something separate or whatever. But I knew that, like, I couldn't do this space on my own and do other things. So I wanted it to be more of a collective place, like a center for people who are curious about spirituality or have a gift or a talent and they want to share that with other people, whether that's yoga or Reiki or reflexology or hypnotherapy or whatever it is, any type of modality that they can also use the space. Right now it is just, me doing sound healing or meditation or coaching, but my hope is that other people come in and it's more kind of a group effort. So that's why I wanted it to be a collective. And then I'm also going to do, my own things, but I didn't want it just to be focused on me. So I think that's important going forward to just see what happens. But I'm super open to anything that comes. And if that is franchising one day, I mean, I obviously have experience with that. So we'll see where that goes. But
how would you define, for someone that doesn't know, what a spiritual awakening is?
Oh, geez. I feel like there's some really technical terms that you could use, but I'm more of a shoot the shit straight kind of person. To me, I think it's just life happening to make you meet yourself. Like, not the version of yourself
that you thought you were.
Exactly. Like who you really are.
Yeah.
Like inside, on a soul level, at the core. Like, what's really important to you? Are you doing things because you've been influenced by your parents or your friends or society? Or are you doing what truly makes you happy?
You think that, this just crossed my mind, but you think that obviously like at younger ages, like we're influenced and molded into like what we think we are now. Man, my mind just went blank. This is good though. Hold on. It'll come. Do you think that there's people that don't, like, that from the beginning, they know their true selves and like stick with their true selves? Or do you think everyone is built into someone that they don't know and you have to refine yourself?
I don't think anybody knows themselves. Like, and I think some people die not knowing themselves. And I mean, I feel like that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Is to learn who you really are.
Yeah.
And figure that out. And it's a process. It's a journey.
And
like,
it's not easy.
No.
And
that's
once you learn about it, then you're consistently battling yourself to be the person that you think you are or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about surrender.
Yeah. Go with the flow.
Exactly.
What's your sign, you said?
I'm a Capricorn.
Okay.
Sun,
I'm not too familiar with
astrology.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know I'm a Leo, but like, I don't know like the time frames and like everything with it. What's your favorite sign?
Obviously mine.
I mean, yeah, fair. That's a dumb question.
Well, so that's another thing. In my like 2-year awakening process, like I did take astrology course because I was like, this is so interesting to me that, you know, I'm this sign, but I didn't really know what it meant. I didn't really know that you had 3 signs and that you have, you know, all these different things in your birth chart and how that kind of influences your life. I had no idea. And so I took this course and I was like, oh my God, it all makes so much sense. And just, I'll give you a really quick example. In the course, we had to read other people's birth charts, and I have a now 20-year-old son. So I was looking at his chart, and he's an Aries. Aries are very much like in their head. They have all these ideas. They want to create all these things. They want to do all these things, but they want to do it all at once. So it's not necessarily planned out. Never has a plan. And I'm Capricorn and we are big planners. So that drives me crazy because he's the total opposite. But he has a Libra rising, and Libras are all about balance. They want the world in harmony. They right and wrong, yin and yang, all that is Libra to the core. So I'm like learning all of this, and Aries are also very stubborn. Aries don't want to follow directions really, follow rules. They kind of just want to do it their way, or they don't want to do it at all. So I knew that he was an Aries. I didn't really know much about it. But then I'm like looking at his chart, and he went through this phase right after he turned like 16, 17. He would get a job somewhere, and not like a normal fast food kid job. He would get a job at like UPS or like this factory, like jobs that like grown-ups had that people like really wanted with benefits and insurance and all the things. He didn't care. He would work there for a week or two and he would quit. And I would be so mad at him. And I'm like, you can't do that. Do you know, like, people would die for this job around here. And he was just like, I don't care. Like, they talk to me wrong, or like, I don't agree with this, or I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to work 40 hours a week to make $400. So I would get so upset with him. I'm like, you cannot, like, literally went through probably 10 jobs in maybe a 6-month span. And I'm like, this is not how I raised you. So I'm like in the astrology course, and I'm learning about Aries and I'm learning about Libra. Aries are never meant to work for anybody else. Like, there's this passion inside of him where he is meant to be his own boss. And then like with the Libra, it's all very like creative and like come up with his own thing. So he started buying and selling cars and boats and motorcycles and 4-wheelers and all the things, like off of Facebook. And he's really good at it. but very much like that's him in his own lane. But the more that I started to research the astrology, I'm like, he couldn't help that he quit those 10 jobs. Like, that's how he was made.
Yeah.
So astrology to me helps you understand other people on a level that, like, he couldn't even express that
like,
to me.
That's just like the core mechanics of how his body and soul is working.
Exactly.
And you can't,
And it took a lot of the pressure off of me parenting him. Because I was like, you know what? He's not meant to work for anybody else. He's not meant to hold down a job. He's not meant for any of this. Like, he's meant to flow. So the more open I became to that, the less kind of, I wasn't so like nagging him. So it's been better for everybody.
You were saying last night that I'm a Leo in July. So
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it. 'Cause I'm intrigued. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like that. From what I know, Leos are like, powerful and like presentive and like want to be in control.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's me. So I'm like,
Well, so every sign has
the rising and then.
No. So every sign in general has like a shadow side and then a healthy side. So if you're in like the healthy aspect of a Leo, you're very much like take charge and, not necessarily controlling, but purpose with a power in your purpose, maybe, is the best way to describe it. But if you're in the shadow side, ego comes into a Leo and like Leo wants to be the center of attention. Like, anywhere you're at, they want to be the most interesting person in the room. So there's also kind of a little bit of if you're a July Leo or an August Leo, very different energies because it's different timing. So it's just, astrology is a rabbit hole. Yeah, like the more that you learn about yourself, the more you want to learn about it. Super, super interesting and very accurate. It's so much more than just like your horoscope in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if you caught in any of my previous interviews, but I like to ask people if you can go back to any age, or any time frame, like be specific, I know you are, and then if you could tell yourself some advice, what age and what would you tell yourself?
Ooh. I feel like I was probably 37 or 38. 37, 38, whenever I was in like the dark time. I just wish that I could have gone there and told her, like, it gets better. It gets better. Because there was a part of time where I felt like there's no freaking way this is ever going to be better.
Yeah.
And now it's better than I ever could have imagined, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's something that just crossed my mind while you were saying that. Man, I've lost 2 things so far, and that's never really happened, but I've been really focusing, and it's funny, like one of the cards I received last night was have an open ear. So like the other last podcast I shot, I was really focused on just like listening, like really being attentive on listening. So it's a back and forth battle because I'm really listening, but then when something crosses my mind, I'm like, I'll forget it and I'll keep listening. But I don't know. That's wild.
If you forget it, it's not meant to be.
True. Well, cool. I mean, you have any questions at all you want those towards me, or what are you thinking? How you feel right now?
I feel good. I mean, to me, this is just super normal conversation. So.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to plug in again, tell everybody where you're at and how we can find you.
Yes. So the website is thefrequencycollective.com. If you are local, is 707 North Garden Street in downtown Columbia, and Instagram is the Frequency Collective also, all together.
There you have it.
So,
there you have it.
yeah.
Well, here's a shirt for you if you'd like to open that up. See it all.
Is this a thing that you do?
Yeah.
Was I supposed to know this?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Dropping the swag. Ooh, look, and it's green.
And it matches.
Yes, it does. That's perfect.
Nice.
So colors also have a frequency.
Do they?
Yes.
So, okay, see, that's going to spark another conversation, but there's the rainbow of color. They're all assigned with certain chakras, correct?
Absolutely,
okay. Yeah. Okay, go ahead and explain that, because even like what I was doing, the vibro-therapeutic chair, like it's light.
Yeah.
It's a light show in a sense with it, and that tailors towards the specific frequency that you're listening to?
Yes, and it's light therapy. Okay. So the light therapy will flash so fast that it makes your brain be on the same wavelength. And so you have like a right brain and a left brain. And
hemi-syncing?
Do it.
Hemi-syncing? Isn't that what it's called?
It sounds good to me. I have no idea.
There's a program thing that I read about this. This is a rabbit hole that I don't know if we should, but it's called the Gateway Program. It's talking about like hemi-syncing your brain like through meditation and stuff, and basically being aligned. Yeah.
So you can do that with like binaural beats and lights and whatever. But I just think it's hilarious that you gave me a green shirt and I wore a green skirt because green is the color of the heart chakra. So whenever, I told you this last night, whenever I'm making decisions of anything to do in my life, I go with my body and like, how does it feel? How will it feel to me? So that's really being aligned with your heart. So green, heart, shirt.
You just made me think of what I was going to say.
What?
But obviously there's power in words and what you say. And I noticed when I ask you anything, you say, I feel like, and I feel, and when I'm hearing you say that, it made me realize that I say, I think. I say it all the time. I think this, or let me think about that. Or so, did you ever used to say I think a lot, or is that just something
Probably.
Because I feel like if you can catch yourself, or for me, I'm talking about to myself right now, like going forward, I'm gonna try and like catch myself when I'm presented with a thought or a chance to think about something. But how do I feel versus I'm gonna think about that for a second. I'm gonna think about how I feel.
Exactly.
It's a double-edged sword.
Well, you're not your mind.
No.
Which is hard for people to, put
Separate,
into perspective. But like last night when I'm asking you questions, you're thinking about it and your response is what you think you should say. But then whenever I reframe it and I'm like, how would that make you feel? It's like it clicks. So, I probably at one point did say think, but I try not to. Like, I think from meditating so much over the last 2 years, I've just gotten to this place where my mind is pretty blank. So I don't think about anything because there's not a lot going on up there. It's just, I'm in the moment and like, how do I feel in this moment?
Are you a big reader? You like reading?
Yeah.
What's one of your top books?
Oh God, right now, I feel like my favorite changes a lot. But there's one book called The Mountain Is You. That's a newer book. It's by Brianna West. I sell it on my website. You can totally get it there.
You heard that?
Yes, just plug it away. I sell it in the studio. It is all about self-sabotage and about how you're your own worst enemy. I literally give that book to every one of my coaching clients. That's kind of where we start. But there's an older book. I'm really into older books too. There's one book that was written in like 1984 and it's called Buried Feelings Never Die. And it is like top 3 of my favorites, but it's all about how you experience, what we were talking about in the beginning. If you, have anxiety or if you had a stroke or if you have migraines, it all goes back to a certain emotion. So it tells you in this book exactly what emotions you are blocking in your life, what you're refusing to feel, and why it's manifesting physically for you. So,
have you heard of the book The Alchemist?
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're the.
I'm not repeating things that you've heard all week. You're like,
but it's for a purpose. It's absolutely perfect. Yes. Someone Friday asked me if I had ever read it, and I'm like, yeah. And I literally 2 days before had gone to the bookstore and bought another copy because I let someone borrow mine. And I realized I didn't have it anymore. And I was like, oh, I should get another copy of this. And then literally this lady Friday is like, have you ever read The Alchemist? And I was like, yes, I just got another copy. And now you're like, hey, did you read The Alchemist?
I read it and it blew my mind. I was like, everyone needs to read this.
Absolutely,
I let 2 people borrow it. The first one returned it and the second one, I'm sure I could probably get it back, but it's been like a year now.
Yeah,
but I
just
just
let
listened
them
to
keep
it on the audio now. I just downloaded it because you can just listen to it on the go. But I feel like every time I listen or reread it, I hear something different. And I compare my life to it in a weird way. I'm like, this is where I'm at and where he is on his journey.
Exactly.
And it really just defines that we're on a journey.
Yeah. And he, the author of that book, has written like 30 books.
Yeah, he's got another one that I've seen a lot when I found The Alchemist that you're supposed to read after, I believe.
Oh, he's got a whole series. Okay. But The Alchemist is the most popular one.
Okay,
it's a good place to start.
I think so, because alchemy is a real thing. I mean, it's the
Absolutely.
transformation
Yeah.
of even like emotion and energy, like what you put your thoughts towards, manifestation, anything like that is essentially alchemy.
Hence me being here.
Yeah.
It's literally 2 weeks ago. I was like, I really want to be on a podcast.
Fair, exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming.
thank
I
you for
appreciate it
having
so
me.
much.
I appreciate it.
I'm excited just to see how this goes and like what growth happens for you in Columbia and here and everything, people, spirits, everything. So, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Never forget that you are worth it. Always strive to be the best you can be. Thank you for tuning into this week's WorthWhile Spotlight. Our goal is to motivate people to become the best version of themselves possible through the power of storytelling. Our stories are written by the things that we experienced growing up, and these experiences, negative and positive, shape who we are and what we stand for. The beautiful thing about your story is that you get to decide how it's told. So as a diamond in the rough of life, hang tight and let your light shine bright.